This training session is on how to enter payments from a paper explanation of benefits. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is go to Fees on the left. I'm going to go to Payments. It's going to give me an option to enter new payment. I am going to go ahead and split my screen so you can see what I'm posting from. Otherwise, typically you would have a paper explanation of benefit that you would be posting from. Okay, this one is a explanation of benefits that has multiple patients on it and multiple payments, and and so therefore I'm going to be entering the information from the check. I'm going to enter today's date. As far as the date, post to date is going to be today's date. I'm going to put in the check number. Here's your check number right here. Alright, and then the amount of the check, and it is an insurance type. I'm putting in the insurance carrier. This is Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas, so I'm going to type in BCBS and scroll down and look for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas electronic. The deposit date is going to be the date of the check. So with the calendar, you have two arrows that will move you back 1 year. So to the left goes back 1 year, to the right goes forward 1 year. The one arrow goes back 1 month, the right arrow goes forward 1 month. Okay, so I'm going to put this on April the 13th, 2012. Alright, now I'm going to allocate my charges. It says I'm going to click OK to that. Now I'm going to move to the first patient in the list, and it shows to be Curtis Alliston. So I'm going to type in the first two letters of the last name. It should bring up any patients with the last name of Alliston. So I have Curtis Alliston here, and I'm going to click on Show All Transactions. At this point, there is no transactions for this patient, as I have not entered them yet. I'm going to go ahead and enter this as a dummy data service, so I will show you how to enter that. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my patient. Now, since I've already entered this information and haven't posted anything, when I come back, I'll be able to search the payment. Okay, what I want to do is go to Patient Client. I'm going to make this screen larger for this purpose. I'm going to click on Visit History, and I'm going to click on this Show the Bottom. So therefore, I can see the demographics at the top, and I can see any history at the bottom. As you can see, there is no history. So I'm going to go ahead and create a visit for 322. I'm going to create the same visit that excuse me, that is in the posting of the check. So I'm going to look at that real quick. So it's a 322.12 99309, and we also have a G8553. As you can see, this was not paid. This G code is only used for showing that an electronic prescription has been done for this patient on this data service. So when you see this, you would write off the balance of the 1 cent that was billed out. Okay. Alright, so that was a 309. The facility, you're going to put in the facility where the patient was seen. So we're just going to select Brody Ranch. We're going to select this as an established patient, because that is an established patient code. The billing facility is going to be the name of the company that does the billing, which would be Frank Floca, MD, and then the data service. So I'm going to go back 2 months to 322, and onset date is not required unless there is a hospitalization or required by for specific claim types. And this particular one, there is no onset or hospital date should not be selected. I'm going to go ahead and click Save. Okay, now I'm going to come over here to Administrative. I'm going to go to Fee Sheets. When I do, I'm going to bring up the code that I am looking for. So I'm looking for a CPT code of 99309. I just put that in the search box and search for it, and you can see here it says search results, one item. I'm going to select that one item. Now it's going to bring in a field for this. Now I need to tie it to an ICD-9 or diagnosis code. So I'm going to put in 331, and if you don't put in the whole code, it'll bring up multiple options, and then you have to select from it. Whenever you're using, you typically always want to use a medical diagnosis unless there is no medical diagnosis available, which there typically will be. For psych claims, you want to use a 331, which is Alzheimer's disease. That would give you a medical diagnosis. Therefore, you're going to be paid at a higher reimbursement from Medicare initially, so you don't have to try to get as much money from the insurance, from the secondary insurance company. They will pay at 80% instead of 60%. That is if you have a Alzheimer's disease diagnosis. Typically you will have it. Okay, now I need to enter the other charge of the G code. So I'm going to type in G855. I'm not putting in the whole code, just part of it. And it brings up the code. And now I'm going to go ahead and select it. And so now I need to justify each code with a diagnosis, because whenever you send over a claim, you have to have a diagnosis associated with it. So I'm going to go ahead and select the 331. This will not show up. You'll have a blank. It will be blank unless you have an ICD-9 that has been brought into this picture. Okay. Now all claims have to have a diagnosis, so we're going to go ahead and justify this diagnosis to the G8553 code. Excuse me. You need a rendering provider who's performing the services. And then I'm going to save this. Okay, now the the fee sheet has been saved. I'm going to go ahead and get this out the door. So I'm going to show you how to send this claim out. I'm going to go to fees, billing, and I'm going to patient name, and I'm putting in Alston. Sorry, that jumped around on me. I'm going to leave the unbilled on as a billing status, so therefore it's going to bring up that claim, and it's not today's date, so I'm going to open that up, and so it's going to bring up any dates for Alston that is unbilled. I'm going to click on Update List. Alright, so now it is brought in. I can see that Trailblazer Medicare is my primary. I can see my CPT code of 99309, my second code of G8553 with my tied ICD-9 code of 331, or diagnosis code. Excuse me. So now I am sending this out electronically, so I'm going to check the box to select the claim. I'm going to click on Generate x12, and then I'm going to click OK. This is going to give me an option to open this up in EditPad, so therefore then it can be saved to my folder so I can send this out. I'm not going to go through all the steps on this training session to send out the claim through Availity, but this shows you how to get the claim ready to go and in a file format, so therefore it can be uploaded into Availity. Okay, so now this is what the file would look like once you have generated the x12 electronic file. At this point, you would want to save it to your folder and then upload it to Availity. For this training, we are not going to go into that. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. Alright, so now that the claim has been sent, if this were a real claim, in about 16 days we would receive payment from Medicare. Now, for training purposes, we're speeding this up. I'm going to go ahead and post my payment for Medicare. Now, typically, what you would want to do is it would be an ERA posting. So therefore, you would browse and find the EOB that you're looking for. I'm going to click on my network places. I'm going to browse to AAMB1, AAMB EOBs, 2012. I'm going to go to GPA. This is the account that we're looking at, and I would look for a check that begins in 8. Typically, whenever we have these checks come in, they are posted by the person who does the electronic posting. So this may or may not be you, but for training purposes, I'm just showing you how you would do it. Then you would select the check that you want, and then you would click open. And when you did that, you would uncheck the checkbox that says without update. Otherwise, it will create the file and it will not update the information. Now, I'm just going to show you kind of what it would look like without updating, because this is not the correct check to post this. I'm going to post that manually because I'm not sure where that check is, and this training session is really not designed for this purpose, but this is just an overview of the process. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and click on Process ERA File, and when I do, I first need to select what insurance that the check is for. And so I am selecting Trailblazer, as that is the check that I would be posting. I'm going to click Process ERA File, and when I do, it is going to bring up another window that lists whenever I changed that insurance, it took away my file. Therefore that's why it did not post. So I'm going to go ahead and just select another one. Without update, I've got my insurance. I'm going to click on Process ERA. And it's not giving me the other option. I'm thinking because this file is not set up for this account, because that is for another EMR. But that would be the process. It would then generate another window, and it would show you the payments that were going to be posted, and then you would uncheck the without update. So therefore, it would actually process the payments to the appropriate file. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a mock check to be able to post the primary insurance, and I'm going to demonstrate how you would post primary insurance. I'm going to first select the date that I'm posting, and then the post to date, which should be also the date that I'm posting. I'm going to put in my check number, and then I'm going to put my payment amount. Excuse me. Which my allowed amount is going to be $66.26. And so I'm going to go ahead and put in the variance. For training purposes, this check is going to be for $51.57. So I'm going to put in the amount. Okay. And remember, this typically would be done electronically, so you would not go through all this for Trailblazer. But for demonstration purposes, I'm showing you this. And the date of the check, so I'm just going to backdate it to around 16 days from the 13th. I'm going to select on 4/30. and I'm going to allocate the charges. Yes, I'd like to allocate them. I'm going to put in the last name of the patient, find the patient. I'm going to, it shows the transaction right here. So the allowed amount was 66. I'm going to show you how okay, I'm just using the Blue Cross Blue Shield EOB to get these figures. So they will show you what Medicare has allowed, what they have charged off, and what the secondary payment is. So I'm going to use the same information just to post my Medicare payment. So they allowable is $66.26. And the payment amount is $51.57. Now the adjusted amount is incorrect because I didn't put in the same billed amount of $100.01. You can see here the charge amount is $96.97. So it automatically will create your adjustment based on what your allowed amount is from your charge. So I'm going to leave the $30.71. As you can see, $14.69 is the remainder. And since this is not paid by Medicare, I'm going to put in allowed of 0. Therefore, it is going to charge off the balance. Okay, so I'm going to finish. I'm going to finish payments, and it says, would you like to post and finish? I'm going to click OK. So now it has posted that payment. Now I'm going to come in and create my, I'm going to go back and search for this check. That was Blue Cross Blue Shield. I'm going to search for the amount. So the payment amount, it was $176.35. Let me just double check that. $173.32. So I'm going to put in $173.32 and hit search. Well, if I didn't find it that way, I'm going to try searching for 413. Okay, I don't want to leave this open, because by leaving that open, it is going to give me all checks from 413, and I don't want to put that in there. So now this is just listing checks that would have been done. Deposit date is what I want to search for. And there is my check. I had put in 173.52 instead of 173.32, so therefore it did not find it. So I'm just going to click on it. Now it's going to give me the option to post this payment. So I'm going to go to my next page. Which has my claim on it. Alright, and so I'm going to put in the patient's last name and select the patient. So selected Curtis Alston. Typically it should show non-paid, and if I would have selected this, it would have showed this. And so I'm going to go ahead and put in my payment. So I did not have to put in an adjustment amount because the adjustment has already been taken on the primary. Your primary insurance is always going to set your adjustment. So on the secondary payment, which this is Blue Cross Blue Shield, you would not set that. You can tell the difference between a primary and an insurance payment because your payment will be your primary payment is going to be anywhere from 60 to 80% of the allowed charge. So if you have an allowed charge of $100 and your payment is $60, that would be a primary payment. If it was $80, it would be a primary payment. So therefore, an adjustment must be done. If it is showing no adjustment and they are allowing the amount that you billed, then you need to increase your billed amount. You never want to leave money on the table. So it should always have an adjustment on your primary insurance. On your secondary or your tertiary insurance, there should never be an adjustment. If you put an adjustment on your secondary or tertiary insurance, then you're going to overpost the payment. So what I'm going to do on this is just post the payment. I'm not putting in an adjustment, and I'm going to finish the payment. I always like to tab, so therefore it brings down the amount. So therefore you can ensure that it is posted and applied. And now I'm going to hit finish payment, and it says, would you like to modify and finish payments? Okay. And would you like the balance to apply to the global account? I'm going to click OK. Always hit cancel if you have a balance that says, and if you have a balance left on it and it says, do you want to apply to the global account? Never say yes, because as you can see what has happened here, it has taken my undistributed amount and it has put it somewhere. I'm not sure what happened to it, but that is not good. So now you don't have the rest of the amount to post. And like I said, this had multiple patients. Once I finished posting this, I would go to the next patient in the list and do the same thing. I would post the amount paid. This is concluding the posting of payments and how to create a fee sheet training session.